So, I actually watched at Batman Return of the Caped Crusader, the animated show starring Adam West and Adam West's last gig, and I really enjoyed it. It was kind of dark, to be honest with you. It was kind of an adventure journey. It wasn't as funny as you would think it would be, but still at the same time, I'm really glad that's the last thing Adam West did, kind of rekindling that fire. It even had elements of drama in it, which is kind of interesting. It wasn't the deepest of movies, and it still had its, original 66 Batman themes and funny stuff that was going on, the original 66 Batman movie. But it was more adventure-like and carrying you along. And it had some sad points, and it had some dark points, to be quite frank. Now, this picture here is what Zack Snyder actually put up on Vero, and this is the Justice League Batman. Now, this is why you guys come to my YouTube channel. I'm going to show you something, alright? Now, I listened to all the websites that covered this, comicbook.com and so forth and so forth. And a lot of them were saying that, some fans will like the tone that Zack Snyder's films have, the dark tone, and Josh Whedon will brighten it up, They don't know what they're saying, okay? And it's so funny when I see people who are clueless as to what Zack Snyder just did here. So let me bring it to your attention what Zack Snyder did. Pay attention now. This is Tim Burton's Batman. You'll notice you can't see his eyes, you can just see a silhouette of his face. Tim Burton was able to capture the essence of Batman, the creature of the night, who Batman is. And Zack Snyder chose to put out this photo that captures the essence of who Batman is. This is Batman. Okay? If you look at both images, they are somewhat similar to each other because Zack Snyder borrowed a lot from Tim Burton, and I will show you more that will produce the understanding that you need to see. So here's Zack Snyder's Batman. Now watch this. Pay attention now. This is Tim Burton. Again, you don't see his entire face. Why? He's a creature of the night. This is where Christopher Nolan got it wrong. You don't put Batman in the daylight. You don't put him in the day if you're trying to capture this weird creature of the night. Okay? But Tim Burton, he was able to capture the essence of who Batman is. Batman was a mythos to Gotham. Hardly anyone ever saw the Batman. See what I'm saying? He operates in the night. The criminals know about him. Very few of them have seen him. See what I'm saying? There's a difference. Here he is again, creature of the night. This, in this case, wonderfully done by Michael Keaton. You can see Batman has been injured. You see he has been hurt. But you can see again the stoic, brute face of a man determined to hunt you down and get you. Okay? That is Batman. You can see the chiseled lines. You see the scowling face and the chiseled lines of Batman. Batman is not your typical kind of hero. That's why people can identify with him. He's flawed. Seriously flawed. Not only that, but he is a criminal. He is a vigilante. And Tim Burton was able to capture that. Yes, the law was working with him unofficially. It was kind of unofficial thing. They give him a pass. But he's not legit. He's not legal. He breaks all laws. There are no rights with Batman. Batman does what he wants to do outside the confines of the law. If you go and watch Adam West's Batman, Return of the Caped Crusader, it's very interesting how they discuss Batman. Okay? That film says a lot about him. Okay? So I'm not going to go too much more into that, but it's interesting. Okay? But this is Zack Snyder is basically taking up where Tim Burton left off. He's not taking up where Christopher Nolan has left off, and he's not taking up from when Schumacher left off. Those two directors I just said, Schumacher and Nolan, they have a totally different directorial style to Zack Snyder. Yes, he borrowed some elements from Nolan in terms of practicality, but more likely Snyder's more of a Burton spin-off, but he's taken it to the next level. Okay, so Snyder's more like Tim Burton. Okay, now so you guys will understand. So the silhouette of Batman, right here, you actually see his eyes, and they're cold and calculating. Right here, you can't see his eyes. You're not supposed to see Batman's eyes. There's a reason why they veil his eyes and they just have a silhouette of him. Okay, there's a reason. Here he is again. Okay, now Zack Snyder emphasized on particular things about Batman. His scowling face seems to always be in a permanent frown because he's never happy with criminals. You gotta understand, it's about fear. It's about fear with Batman. So Batman is an imposing figure that criminals dread to cross paths with. He's not supposed to be someone that criminals delight to see, except for the Joker, who's just mad, so it doesn't really make a difference. But by and large, Harley Quinn and the Joker aside, most criminals do not want to cross paths with the Batman. Okay? And this Batman, Tim Burton's Batman, he kills. He kills. He'll kill you. Right? He doesn't always kill. He's not really one who wants to kill people, but he will kill you if he has to. Okay? That's the Batman you're seeing here, but he's bigger, stronger, okay, than Tim Burton's Batman. So that's where Zack Snyder's going with this photo. But of course, the people don't get what Zack Snyder's doing because they're not trying to get what Zack Snyder's doing. Okay? And it's sad because this is absolutely in line with what Tim Burton did. Zack Snyder's bringing back Tim Burton stuff. That's why it's beautiful that Danny Elfman's on board, and I'm actually happy that Joss Whedon's on board because I think Joss Whedon will get it. He'll get what Zack Snyder's doing. And Danny Elfman's worked with Tim Burton, so he knows what Zack Snyder's doing. Okay? So these guys will have a nice feel for it. They're not trying to do something light and fluffy. The Justice League is not a light and fluffy team, but it's a mixture. It's a mixture of different personalities. We got the guy who doesn't have a problem breaking the law to get justice in Batman. We've got the warrior princess in Wonder Woman who loves. We've got the guy who likes to inspire in Superman. Then we got the speedster who's a scientist in The Flash. We've got this mechanical man who doesn't know if he's human or machine, but he can do all these incredible things in Cyborg. We've got a god, a half-man, half-god from the seas in Aquaman. You have to understand these are different personalities. They're different heroes. That's what Patty Jenkins was emphasizing on. Each hero has a particular virtue or a particular quality about them. And when you put the heroes together, Joss Whedon has done this before, so I know he can work this out. It brings a mixture, a spectrum of values. And that's what the Justice League is about. Now the Avengers, the way how the Avengers, when the Avengers came out, I think it was, I can't remember what year it came out in. But when the Avengers came out, I think it was 2000, what was it, 2012? 2013, I can't remember. When the Avengers came out, these characters were mostly energetic, fluffy, light, and sort of charismatic, right? This is not the mix you're going to see with this Justice League. This Justice League is going to be taken a lot more seriously. The threat that they have to face is also a lot more serious, and there are consequences to this threat that they face. And again, I'm trying to emphasize to people, Batman is up against a humongous challenge that he cannot take on. Parademons. Batman, in a one-to-one battle against a parademon, Batman gets his ass handed to him. Okay? Because parademons are just... One parademon can take down Batman. As much as he may have a suit and all of that shit, he can't even handle two parademons. He's got all kinds of tech and stuff to take out parademons, but don't get it twisted. He cannot take on Darkseid's forces by himself. He knows this. He knows he's probably the weakest of the team that he's trying to assemble. Okay? So you have to understand, as much as this is beautiful, this is iconic right here, that Zack Snyder's, focusing on Batman, which I really like. I really like that Zack Snyder's doing this. But it's also creating a particular kind of tone for the movie. Batman operates on what you do not expect him to doing. He's a guy who likes to ambush you. Okay? That's the only way. He tries to outwit you if he can. He outwitted Superman. He used kryptonite. He set up Superman and then he used the kryptonite against him. So Batman's a guy who plays chess. So you have to understand, he's going to be one of the strategists to try and take down Darkseid's forces. But please don't expect him to be front and center battling Darkseid's forces. It just can't happen. He's not strong enough to do that. Okay? So why I say this is because you're talking about superpower beings that Batman is going up against. If it was humans, or even metahumans, certain metahumans, he'd be able to take him down. But against hordes and scores of superpower beings like Darkseid's forces, like parademons, it's going to be a lot harder. And he's going to be able to take out one or two of them, but don't expect Batman to be able to, go bunker crazy and lick up a whole set of parademons. It ain't happening. And he can armor up as much as he wants. Parademons are a whole different ball game, folks. A whole different ball game. They ain't just fodder, okay? People saying, "Oh, this is gonna be like Age of Ultron," I don't know, or like it's gonna be like Avengers, the first movie. The parademons will just be fodder. No, they ain't just gonna be fodder. Not for Batman. It's gonna be tough. He's a man. Remember that. He's not Wonder Woman. He's not the Flash. He's not Aquaman. He's not Superman. He's not Green Lantern. Okay? And we know all of those guys are going to be up in this movie. But the thing that makes this movie a little bit more complicated, which we're not really talking about, is some of the other players that we haven't spoken about. There are other players in this movie. Okay? It's still going to be a straightforward movie at the end of the day, but there are other players. And Joss Whedon, I guarantee you, Joss Whedon and Danny Elfman, in combination with the guys who did the bulk of the work, Junkie XL and Zack Snyder, are going to bring this baby home. I have 100% confidence in Joss Whedon. I understand Joss Whedon knows what kind of film he's making. He understands what he needs to do. They have a clear vision of what they need to do next. So I'm not even worried about this film. But what Zack Snyder put out fits in line with what Tim Burton has done. Okay. So I just wanted to say that. Now let me show you some more similarities between Zack Snyder and Tim Burton's work. Again, here's Batman. You don't see his eyes, right? There's a reason, right? That's Tim Burton's Batman. The difference is you got the yellow logo in the center, right? Now here's Zack Snyder showed Batman with his cowl. The back of his cowl, and his, I don't know what you want to call it, robe or whatever it is. Really awesome looking, and really magnificent. But there's specific things he's trying to point out here. I'm not quite sure what he's trying to point out there. But what I want to show you is, remember a while ago he showed the Batmobile? Well, Tim Burton's Batmobile, whether it's the 1992 or the 1989 Batmobile, had Gatling guns on it, machine guns. Heavy-duty machine guns on it. Now everybody was critiquing Zack Snyder for having the machine guns in the open, in the center, but Tim Burton's, again, Batmobile had machine guns on it. Okay? Machine gun turrets. And as you can see, in this particular one, Zack Snyder has machine gun turrets here and here on either side, and again they have this machine gun looking. They're much more. They shoot out much more stuff than Tim Burton's, but you see, again, patterning after the Tim Burton design. Even the design of this Batmobile is sort of like Tim Burton's Batmobile design. The only difference is Zach's got this big old, I don't know what this is, if this is an EMP or cannon or whatever it is. Then you got these little missile launchers in the front here, okay? And of course you got some missile launchers on the sides and stuff like that. But the point is, this is a little bit more busy to the beautiful Batmobile, the Corvette Batmobile of Tim Burton's, but still at the same time you get the point what I'm making. He again was following along the lines in design of what Tim Burton was doing. So I want you guys to understand that there's a lot of influence. Tim Burton is speaking through this movie. It's not just Justice League. It's kind of Tim Burton-esque, which is why I don't know, man. I don't know if it's luck or I don't know if it's providence, but they picked the right guy to continue the musical score for this movie. Danny Elfman worked with Tim Burton, so bringing Danny Elfman into the mix was providence. I think that's a wonderful thing they could have done. I do hope though that Junkie XL's whatever work Junkie XL has done, that Warner Brothers has the common sense and decency to thank him for it and to ensure that his stuff flows through the movie. Trust me, the key here is not so much recreating the wheel. It's about putting the ligaments and tendons together, linking everything in a seamless array. That's what these guys can do. Whedon and Elfman can smoothen out the movie. That's the key here. You have all the ingredients. Wonder Woman had all the ingredients of a Zack Snyder film, but Patty Jenkins' direction smoothed that thing out really nicely, and then the musical score was just fantastic. It still wasn't as rich as, say, a Man of Steel or a Batman v Superman, but it was much more palatable for the general audience. When the general audience is fully processed what happened in that movie, they'll realize it's the same thing that happened in Man of Steel, for the most part, and even the same things that happened in Batman v Superman. Okay? And so any idiot who thinks that, oh, we're moving away from Zack Snyder's vision and we need to move away from Zack Snyder's stuff and get lighter and fluffier and happier, guess what? Wonder Woman wasn't a happy, fluffy, light movie. It wasn't. There was a few comedic, episodic moments, but it wasn't light and fluffy. It wasn't. That was a heavy-duty movie, I told you. I left that movie torn up because Steve Trevor died and because Antiope died. So I didn't find it funny. Not like that. And I'm telling you right now, Justice League's not going to be funny. I can guarantee you that. Joss Whedon is going to do an excellent job of the interaction and the dialogue between characters and stuff. He's going to get that connective tissue working. But don't get it twisted. Don't expect this movie to be funny. And I do expect some people to die in this movie. Some very important person in this movie is going to die. And they're going to stay dead. And I don't know who it is. So expect all of these things. Also, expect this movie, as palatable as they may do it, there's some things that are going to offend people. That's just the way a Zack Snyder film is. It's something in that film is going to offend you. So get prepared for that. And it's to challenge you in how you think about heroes and all these things. That's just how Zack Snyder operates. That's just the way Zack Snyder, if it's a Zack Snyder film, something's going to offend you. Don't worry about it. Just continue on through the movie. It's going to be easy to follow. Just continue on through the movie and then reflect on why it offended you. Reflect on it. It's a Zack Snyder film. You're guaranteed to have that. Okay? It's a Zack Snyder film. Alright? So, I think once you guys get that, I really can't see anything going wrong here. I can't say how much the right people are actually in the position to finish this movie off. I can't say it enough. You can't get it better than that. If Zack can't direct the film, Whedon being on board and I mean, you can get more fortune like Elfman's on board, because the way how Zack Snyder's style is, it's a combination of practicality with fantasy. And Elfman has worked with Tim Burton, who has been more fantasy than practical, but still, he has worked with Tim Burton. So, I mean, you can't get it better than that. I mean, Elfman does dark very, very well, and he can bring in, as I said before, the theatrics with the darkness. That's key. That's key. That's what made Tim Burton's film so good, was the theatrical element of it. So I mean, I can't really see how they can go wrong with this and mess this one up, unless they're trying to reinvent the wheel or they're trying to do a ton of things. Notice reshoots was wrapped up rather quickly, which means they had just minor tweaks to do on Zack Snyder's work. The thing with Zack Snyder's work is, as I said before, he's more indie. He's more an indie filmmaker. So Zack is a little bit raw with how he may bring forth something to you guys. You know, he knows how he can approach it conventionally, but he decides to approach it a different way to get a particular evocative response from you. And that's just Zack Snyder. But in terms of Whedon now, how this thing is cut, how it's edited, I think Whedon knows how to tweak it just enough that it's still going to be Zack. It's still going to offend you, but it's going to be tweaked just enough to sort of soothe the pain after you've been offended. That's the same thing they did with Patty Jenkins. Patty Jenkins was directing. There was stuff that was actually very offensive that you kind of dismissed, and you were like, oh. But if you go and reflect on it, you realize how offensive it really is. So Patty was able to walk that fine line. And in this case, Zack can do it too, but it's just that he chooses not to do it. Alright? So, Whedon, what I think Whedon will do is, as a director, I think he's going to pull back the line a bit and walk it a little finer. Instead of walking it, just kind of going over the edge a little bit and then coming back, he's probably going to go to the edge, not over it. He's going to go to the edge, and he's going to pull back. So that's where I think Whedon's going to get more people to go see the movie. It's going to be a little bit diluted down. It's not going to be full-blown Zack Snyder. It's going to be diluted down a little bit. But the essence of Zack Snyder is going to be throughout the film. It's going to be a Zack Snyder film. You're going to feel Zack Snyder in this film. And you're going to feel that continuity. And Zack is, Whedon and Zack and Elfman and XL. I hope they're still talking to Junkie. I hope so. I just hope Warner Brothers didn't just cut the ties, because I know Junkie. He likes, he's a co-worker with guys like Danny Elfman and company. I hope they work together still, and still keep it kind of positive with one another, because it's important. Elfman brings a certain thing to the table that Junkie so far is not able to do yet. But I do hope they keep most of Junkie's work in this project, because that's the tone of the movie, period. You don't discard Junkie's work. It would be stupid to discard his work for some other tone, which would be just dumb. And if I think Elfman should be a smart person in this regard. I think he won't discard the tone of the film that's already set for the film. I think he's going to enhance certain elements of the tone. That's what I would do as a musical composer. I'm not going to go reinvent the wheel. You crazy? No way, hell no. Even if Warner Bros. Gives me a mandate, nope. I'm going to work with whatever we have already, and I'm going to make that thing work, because I can see how it can work in with the story, So, do I think the Justice League is going to be a dark film? Yes. So for those people who are worried that it will be too bright and fluffy and like the Avengers, it's not going to be like that. Okay? However, here's what is going to happen, which is a little bit different. Of course, the film's going to have some humor in it. It's going to have good pieces of humor. We live in a climate, in an environment right now as a depression, so people don't want to see too much heavy and be too depressed. We get it. Nonetheless, they need to have something that's serious. And Justice League is going to be a serious film. Unlike the Avengers, which didn't take itself seriously at all, this is a different style of film. It's kind of like Batman 1989. It's kind of like that film. Batman 1989 had some comical elements in it, and it was more of an adventuresome film. But for the most part, it wasn't a comedy. It wasn't funny. It wasn't trying to take itself lightly. Okay? Superman 1978 understood what it was, had charm and pizzazz, but didn't take itself too seriously. Justice League is going to take itself pretty seriously. But it's not going to be one in which it's very solemn like Batman v Superman. Batman v Superman is probably as solemn as it gets. It's not going to be like that. It's not going to be like Wonder Woman either, where it's fantastical all the time. And Wonder Woman's grounded in reality. Don't get me wrong; it's grounded in reality. I look back at certain things and it's pretty grounded, but it's not going to be as fantastical as Wonder Woman. So what you're going to get is a pretty. It's going to have you on the edge of your seat a little bit. It's going to be pretty serious. The threat's going to be pretty severe, which is why I need the Justice League. But at the same time, there's going to be interactions between the members of the Justice League. And that's going to be where I think some of the levity is going to come from in the movie. Because you have all these different characters which represent different values. And that always leads to intriguing things that happen when they interact with one another. So I expect that to be mostly the part where the movie has this situation of humor, and it's kind of funny. And they would know this because we've seen with Suicide Squad what happened, and we've seen what happened when Wonder Woman was with the band of people that she was around. That's mostly where the humor comes from. So I expect that to happen also in Justice League. But I expect also that this story is going to be told like most of the epic stories so far. It's going to be told as an epic, kind of in a sort of mythological way of telling a story. But inside of the story itself, you will have a demythologizing of the characters. But yet, in a sincere and true way, you will see some of the heroics of the characters. So I think that's where Zack is going with it. I could be wrong. But, so I think Whedon should have no problems with that. He should be like, yeah, that's what I see. Because Whedon's brought on board. Obviously, Whedon clearly understands the vision that they're trying to put across. So I think it's perfect that Whedon got to do this movie, to finish it off. Now, I heard some movie posts online saying that, I think it was John Campea, he was saying that Josh Whedon, if this movie does well, most people will be setting him up to do Justice League 2, and people will want him to be on board to continue the vision of the Justice League. Now, quite frankly, I don't have a problem with that. Whether it's Zack or Whedon, it doesn't matter to me. The only thing I say is when a director is directing a movie, you have to keep in line with that director's vision, whoever else comes on board. And the good thing about this is that Whedon, I think he respects Zack's vision for the movie. As much as he's working for Warner Brothers, I think he will stand up for Zack and what Zack wants. Because sometimes the directors need to be defended. You look at Patty Jenkins, she stood up for the No Man's Land scene. David Ayer, for the most part, I heard that was his movie. When we saw the extended cut, basically, there were certain pieces of the movie that was left out. And quite frankly, I gotta be honest with you. To me, the theatrical cut for Suicide Squad was good. I didn't have a problem with it. The extended cut gave us a little bit more information, and I actually enjoyed the little extra information that the extended cut had. But quite frankly, I enjoyed the theatrical run. You know, I don't think the extended cut is much more different to that. You got a little bit more Joker, a little bit more Harley, a little bit more backstory. But at the end of the day, I thought David Ayer did a great job of Suicide Squad. Yes, he didn't get the critical reviews he wanted to get, but by and large, that movie is doing very well in terms of home entertainment sales. It's doing remarkable. Are you talking about the DC movies by and large? I mean, Batman v Superman was the big blockbuster there. I think Justice League is going to completely blow away Batman v Superman. There's a number of reasons why Justice League won't go wrong. Let me tell you the first reason. Wonder Woman. And then it's got Batman in it. And now we have a flushed out Wonder Woman, which people love, doing better than Man of Steel. Superman is the hardest character to actually pull off because the character is so complex in that Superman's not really flawed in any way. He's an idealistic kind of person. But I guarantee you, how Zack Snyder wants to bring back Superman in this movie, you will be really wanting to see it. I hope they don't spoil it before, don't spoil it in the trailers. I don't want to see Superman return. I don't want to know anything about Superman. We know he's going to come back, and that's enough. We don't want certain things spoiled. Like, I don't want Superman. I don't want to see Superman at all. I don't even want you hinting to Superman. Just like how they didn't show Ares, I was glad they didn't show Ares. The other thing is, we know Green Lantern's going to be in Justice League. I don't need to see Green Lantern. I don't need to know what his role is. Okay? We know the story's built around Cyborg, so that's cool. Do I need to see more of each of the characters and their action scenes? Not really, but really, what I want to do is just go into the theater and see the movie. That's the honest truth. I don't really care about seeing any more trailers. I don't think anybody needs to see any trailers more of Justice League, to be honest with you. But I know they have to put out a trailer, so they'll put out a trailer with something new. But I don't want them to spoil the story of Justice League. I want to go in there, see the story for myself, and enjoy it. I really don't care what critics say about the movie. I'm not one of those people right now who cares about critical reception. Justice League is gonna kill it anyway at the box office, whether the critics bash it or not. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna make bank. It's gonna make bank. I can guarantee you that. So at the end of the day, I'm happy it's Josh Whedon directing right now. If Zack Snyder can't finish it off, Josh Whedon is the next best thing. You can't get better than that. And I trust Josh Whedon to bring this baby home because I know he knows that Justice League is that important to Warner Brothers right now. And I think by Josh Whedon taking it over as well, I think it kind of brings peace between the camps. Like, it was nice to see Kevin Feige again come out and say something positive about Wonder Woman and its success. I think Kevin Feige speaking like how he's speaking now is actually helping the situation where people are rooting for comic book movies, and I'm definitely going to go see Spider-Man Homecoming because I like the positivity I'm hearing in the comic book community. So yeah, I'm gonna go support Spider-Man as well. I mean, what should stop me from supporting Spider-Man? I saw Wonder Woman. It was great. I'm going back in the theater. I'm going to go see Wonder Woman again. But I would also like to see Spider-Man. Why not? Spider-Man is one of my favorite characters. And he looks goddamn dope. I'm telling you, man, Spider-Man looks dope. He got all these extra features and stuff. So I'm interested in it. And my point being this. Even though Marvel is a sort of competition to DC, there are people who read both comics. I haven't really read a lot of Marvel comics since I was a child, but I would enjoy a good Marvel flick. I'd enjoy a good Marvel comic. I saw Ant-Man. I thought it was dope. So, quite frankly, I'm not one of those people who hates on DC or hates on Marvel. I just didn't like the hate that was coming down on the DCEU. For what reason? Just that the DCEU is a possible option to open up a universe. I'm even seeing hate for the Universal's Dark Universe. Why all that hate? Give the universe a chance to do what it needs to do. And don't tell me these are bad movies or this is a bad movie. Don't tell me that. When I go into the cinema, I pay my money to go see a movie, okay? I go and I pay my money to go see a movie. I'm going in there and I'm going to enjoy my ass somehow. I'm going to enjoy the movie. I got to get my money's worth out of it. I'm going to go and enjoy a movie. And the average person, audience, doesn't need no critic ratings to go in and enjoy a movie. If I go watch Transformers, I know what I'm going to see. I'm going to go see a movie that is mostly action. And if I get some story or I get surprised by the story, awesome. But I know Transformers is mostly an action flick. It's called an action movie. Alright? I'm not going in for no groundbreaking, mind-bending. So I'm going in to see Transformers. That's why I'm going in. And if it's mind-bending and groundbreaking, fine. You know what I'm saying? I get an added plus. I mean, I don't understand what people are going to the cinema to do these days. I don't understand. Do you appreciate art forms? Do you appreciate art? I don't know. Most of the people I see now, they bitch and moan about every single thing. And they seem to be mostly bitchers and moaners. It's as if they're dissatisfied with life. And so, I mean, the critics, their job is to assess whether a film is good or not, right? That's what they're supposed to do. But I still don't have respect for them. There's a lot of them I just don't have respect for because they don't even understand what they're watching. How can you dismiss something, or you can say it's a convoluted mess, or you say it's a big old mess, if you don't even follow what's going on? I mean, my thing was, when I went and saw Batman v Superman, I went and saw the movie after the critics had already started trashing it, and I was shocked, because I was really anticipating the movie. And then when I went into the cinema and I saw the movie, yeah, I could see there are different genres, different things. I understand that you're going from one place to the next, one scene to the next, but I really didn't get what was the problem. Most people could follow the movie. Most people I interviewed. Is it that people are much more intelligent than people in the United States of America where I live? I don't know. But what I can say to you is that most people followed the movie to its end. Some people didn't like the ending of the movie where Superman died. There are places in the movie where people were confused, like the Flash scene, when the Flash started saying, "Listen to me now." It's Lois, she's the key. Like, I didn't know what was going on there either, okay? So what did I do? I came home, I Googled it, and I tried to figure out what was being said. That's all you gotta do. And it gives you something to do. I remember when they had, on the internet, they had Wayne Manor on Google Maps. They had LexCorp that was open on the internet. I thought this was all fun and innovative, and I like this kind of stuff because you interface with these things. And it was more than just a movie, it was an event where you leave the movie, you still have questions, and you go Googling around to find answers. I thought that was just great. So I don't know. For me, I didn't understand how maybe some people just go into the movies and they sit down with their popcorn and they want the movie to feed them everything, And if they don't follow something, they don't go and look it up or try and figure out what's happening. Nah, they just badmouth the movie. And that's probably people who have been to movies too many times, seen too much movies, and so they don't want to think. They want the movie to do everything for them. And I'm not into that. I like to be in control of the situation to the most part. I like to get involved in a movie and immersed in a movie, don't get me wrong, but I also like to actively think. And that's why I even make these videos, because I'm a thinking person. I like to actively think about things. Anyway, I was glad to share this stuff with you guys. I went a little bit deeper into things and talking more about what I expect from Justice League. I don't expect much from Justice League except a Zack Snyder film. I wanted a Zack Snyder film. Once it's a Zack Snyder film, I'm cool. Like I said, you can't get me more happy. I'll be happy like Pappy if I see a Zack Snyder Vision film. streamlined, cut, edited, you know, and brought forth by Joss Whedon. You know, reshot, you know, certain reshots he did, and the Joss Whedon. Listen, man, let me tell you how good this film could be. The Joss Whedon flavor, that is the interactions between the characters, tweaked. You know, Joss Whedon's good with the interaction between characters, and he's gonna have a little bit more depth because of his, you know, the different kinds of characters he's dealing with. So he's gonna get to do more of a practical interface, situational humor kind of thing instead of just slapstick humor and dialogue. So that's the beauty of what Joss Whedon's getting to do. He's like, God dang it! I know he's excited about it. So he's like he's in a toy factory with a whole bunch of toys and just playing around with them. I know he's having fun, but on top of that, you got who? Danny Elfman? Are you serious? You got Danny Elfman to do the score? Are you kidding me, man? So Elfman and Whedon, I mean, shoot, you can't have a better finishing touch. That indie style that Junkie XL, the innovative indie style that XL and Snyder came up with, is now going to be polished and tweaked by Whedon and Elfman. Guaranteed. Danny Elfman, I have all the confidence in the world in Danny Elfman because he's an absolute professional, and Joss Whedon is the absolute. I mean, he gets results. So I'm really happy about this. Of course, I hope my joy doesn't turn into instant sorrow if they botch it up. But I don't know. It's very difficult to botch that up. And the way how Whedon has already finished reshoots tells me they're doing it exactly how I think they're doing it. So this no doubt will be a Zack Snyder film. Whether the critics like it or hate it, it's going to be a Zack Snyder film. But it's going to be a polished Zack Snyder film. You'll see what I mean. You'll see what I mean. You'll see what I mean. Ah, this is going to be beautiful. It's going to be beautiful. You know, Tim Burton's Batman. Think about that. Think about the theatrics in it. Think about how Tim Burton got the actors to be edgy and still at the same time theatrical. You know, and it doesn't take much. It's not a whole set of redoing shoots and stuff. It's just these little things that you do. Just these little things you need to do. That's the thing with Zack's films. People say sometimes Zack's films miss something. It's the theatrical element, that polish sometimes. Zack gives you it raw, you know. Even if Tim Burton does things in a pretty raw way, he's got a certain polish to it. And I think Tim was an indie filmmaker as well, more on the horror side of things. If you look at Tim Burton's Batman, it is even more darker. It's even darker than Zack Snyder's Batman v Superman. I know you think about what I'm saying first. The Batman was pretty dark in that movie, okay? But he had the theatrics from Danny Elfman. And yes, a lot of times the music wasn't playing and it was just straight actors acting. But there was this theatrical element to it. And see, it's realism. You can have hyper-realism, you can have realism, but you need to have the theatrics. And I'm not saying that Ben Affleck and they in Batman v Superman didn't have the theatrics, but it wasn't fully emphasized in Batman v Superman. And I'm telling you right now, Elfman, Whedon, it's good. I'm thinking about Whedon and theatrics. And can Whedon do dark? Of course Whedon can do dark. Whedon can do anything. Because it's about interaction between the characters, so Whedon can do that. What would be interesting is because it's going to be darkish, but it's going to be funny, okay? And Elfman is going to be able to get the humor in where it's necessary. They're going to just sprinkle little pieces of Justice League with humor. They probably already have it already, but still, they're going to sprinkle it, and where it needs to be emphasized and tweaked, they'll tweak whatever they need to do. I have a feeling, though, that Whedon was working on this project with Zack Snyder before. That's why it ended up in Whedon's hands. I have a feeling Whedon was on this already. I was working with Zack, which we just didn't know that. You know? So, I think the tone of Justice League is going to be the same. When we see the next trailer, it's going to be the same tone, pretty much. I'm just kind of hyped to see this movie, man. I'm really hyped. Anyway, guys, leave your comments in the comment section below. This